I'll try to really be brief, I promise. So I am here to report on the session on green shipping and ports. I think we had quite a lively and engaging discussion. We had around 20 participants, a little bit more, representing, of course, the Western Mediterranean, but not only. So we also counted with the participation of colleagues from Turkey and North Macedonia, among other countries. So we kicked the session off, let's say, on the UFM side with a sort of overview presentation by our transport colleagues. Sort of highlighting or sharing an update on where we stand as far as the implementation of the 2021-2027 UFM Transport Action Plan, highlighting, of course, the interlinkages with the UFM's Sustainable Economy dossier, which by now you all know very well, is underpinned by the 2021 UFM Ministerial Declaration on Sustainable Economy and by the roadmap for its implementation. And as you know well, this framework, so the UFM's framework on sustainable economy, counts with a dedicated priority actually on sustainable climate neutral and zero pollution transport and ports. We also were blessed with the presence and participation of Interreg WestMED, of course, so by Vincent, who shared just a quick update on where we stand as far as the second Green Economy call. And we heard, of course, also from Leonardo, who shared with us a very in-depth, and thank you very much for that, overview of the relevant funding mechanisms and calls that are open at the moment, and yeah, of course, on the progress that is ongoing on the WestMED side. So, of course, in terms of the WestMED technical group on green shipping, and crucially, on the just launched, let's say, just sent proposal on a potentially new S3 partnership on shipbuilding propulsion systems, so an alliance partnership on shipbuilding propulsion systems. The rationale being that, let's say, research and innovation has not and will not for now secure, let's say, a single solution as far as alternative fuels. This will depend, of course, on the type of vessels. This will depend on the different capacities of the countries across the basin, on the access that each country has to alternative fuels. So this will create inevitably, let's say, different models from a sustainability point of view. And so the rationale is that this new, let's say, potentially S3 partnership could provide pathways and a way to revitalize, to tackle this issue from a more holistic perspective, bringing together, in fact, both European and non-European regions. The proposal, as far as I know, was submitted earlier this week, actually on Monday, with around 30 partners, including, as I mentioned, also non-EU partners. So as far as concrete proposals, ideas, I think, again, quite lively. We started off actually with a bit of a presentation or an intervention from the colleagues who are with us today, actually from the Canary Islands, who, as you know, are engaging or are quite, let's say, innovative, have developed quite innovative approaches, for instance, to bunkering, to ship repair. They also, of course, discussed or underlined both the physical closeness, right, and the shared challenges in terms of the relationship and the physical closeness with Mauritania, Senegal, Morocco, among other countries. And so one of the ideas that came up was that possibly under the 2024 MFAP call for proposals on S3 for sustainable economy, which is open also to the outermost regions, in fact, perhaps there could be project ideas that could fit under this specific call. And a concrete idea that also came up, linking a little bit more or with the hook of the, let's say, civil protection element, was to possibly advance towards a Canary Islands Center on Risk Prevention and Emergency Management. And so we learned that there are actually specific calls under the Union for Civil Protection Knowledge, the Union Civil Protection Knowledge Network, UCPKN. So here possibly we could have an entry point. Another sort of idea that came up quite strongly, we've heard about the many centers of excellence that are emerging across the region on different topics, even under some of the projects that we heard from this morning. So why not maybe imagine, let's say, a network of excellent centers, possibly specialized in different themes. Another key, let's say, topic that emerged was, of course, the need to upgrade energy grids to serve smaller ports in particular, which, as we know, have great potential across the Mediterranean, linking, of course, to the diversification of small ports and marinas beyond maritime transport, linking to the electrification of ports, of course, to onshore power supply. And these are maybe three of the more innovative, newer ideas that emerged. And then, of course, other, let's say, challenges, topics came up, areas of interest for the countries that are participating in our session. For instance, in terms of notion, of course, of a digital twin of the ocean. We've heard a lot about, in the past years. So why not focusing on a digital twin, but focusing more on ports, shipping and ports, and specifically on, let's say, looking at environmental parameters. So forecasting, monitoring, looking at innovative tools for soft testing. So very, let's say, looking at environmental, environmental aspects. Linking, of course, to the importance of a unified approach to data collection and management, which, as we know, is a topic that emerges very strongly in this type of discussion at Mediterranean level. Of course, we heard of the need, the increased, the constant and ongoing need for training and capacity building, which is, of course, at the very heart of the UFM's mandate. We also heard, of course, about the need to maybe develop more projects, especially, including partners from the north and the south, looking at the green hydrogen supply chain. We know that Morocco, for instance, is already working on this. Of course, looking at energy, LNG, at the topic of energy communities, which we're also hearing a lot from recently. And then there were more, not niche necessarily, but very specific topics, for instance, on autonomous underwater vehicles, for instance, in terms of underwater detection, monitoring, in particular to manage dredging. So these are maybe more concrete ideas. I think the first three are maybe the most innovative. And then the way... 30 seconds? I can absolutely do 30 seconds. So we tried to match basically these ideas, of course, with the various funding mechanisms that have been presented. So looking specifically at MFAP, of course, the I3, Interreg NextMed, the SPEP, and as I mentioned, the Union of Civil Protection Knowledge Network, UCPKN. In terms of next steps, so actually, yes, just to show you, so we sort of tried to have a bit of a matching exercise. And of course, the next steps, as you know, led by WestMED, will take place from the WestMED Technical Group on green shipping. And I'd just like to close with, I think, a very relevant point that Emmanuel made. And we saw today really the results from the hackathons that took place 2 years ago. So you've been able to really see the tangible results. So this is, should be, I think, extremely encouraging. And I think our discussions today, also as Manuel said, influence, right, let's say, the future calls also that will emerge. So the Commission is listening, the UFM is listening, so count on us. And it's, of course, crucial to remember, this is something that is very much at the heart of the UFM's messaging or mandate, that projects, of course, are part of wider processes. So while here it may seem that we're really dealing with the nitty-gritty, at the end of the day, these are essential discussions to really link to the wider policy processes. So I'll stop here. So very valuable discussion. And thanks again to Leonardo, who really did a